On today's episode of Wacky Family Sitcom, the daughter does something goofy at school.
My mom is an alligator.
See, that's what this song sounds like. It sounds like your mom's an alligator.
Sounds like hard sci-fi to me.
Well, we are talking hard sci-fi in the Bootu Boys, and by we, I mean myself, Van Lee, Spencer Hendricks.
I nodded. Can they hear that?
They can hear that.
On the podcast?
And Brian Vaughn, what facial thing will you do?
My mom's not really an alligator.
Oh, no, I've met your mom. She's an alligator.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's got those two crawdads that she pinches people with, and is from the South. That's her, right?
I think you're thinking of Leatherhead.
Shit, I do that all the time. Well, unfortunately, we're not talking Leatherhead today. It may come up that we're there in Florida.
It will come
Yeah,
up. It always does.
comes up.
We were talking Quantum Leap. That's right. That's what that theme song is. That very misplaced theme song is for Quantum Leap. We're doing Season 4, Episode 7, The Wrong Stuff. Boy, I will tell you that this is, in fact, the right stuff.
Hey, put your garlic away because it's time to invite Bacula inside again. Wearing a diaper for 45 straight minutes.
You know, kudos to him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because
Super
I
brave.
could not have done this. But, I mean, the dude's in good shape.
Sure.
He's a good-looking man.
And he's pretty good at, like, lowering his body to
Ape
wobble
size.
around like a chimp.
My only complaint is that even someone with Scott Bakula's fortunate, he's got good genetics, he's got a good build. The briefs, just not a good look.
It's a diaper.
You're right. I was thinking it was briefs.
You can shit right in it.
I forgot that it was. He does say later, I'm wearing a diaper. I kept thinking it was
You
briefs.
guys, he is shitting in it, too. I
Oh,
know
yeah.
they're not showing it, but this episode's too long. He shits during that at some point.
The diaper, not a good look for his build. It makes him look strange. And there's a lot of Bakula back shots where it's right back there at Bakula butt. And it just was a little much.
I think you bring up a good point, which is for a diaper, the ideal build, baby.
True.
It's who they're built for.
Yeah.
But I have to
It's
disagree.
fine on them. I think they look good in diapers.
I think Scott Dracula looks fucking hot in a diaper.
That's as
Okay.
good as you can look in a diaper.
Had me going this whole time. And again, like Brian said, the stooped walking, the motions.
Might have been stooped for how heavy the diaper was, too.
I kind of want to see various heartthrobs in diapers now so that we can rank them. See who pulls it off best.
None of our, like, Lorenzo Lamas was never in a diaper when we covered Renegade.
That we know of.
That we know of, but in our episodes.
But this could be our next, can he pull off a leather jacket?
Can he pull off a diaper?
Yeah.
Can he pull off a diaper?
Which I would argue harder.
A little bit. What about a leather jacket and a diaper?
Oh, now you're talking my language. What do you think Tommy Keating would look good in a diaper?
No.
No, I don't think so. I also don't
It
think he ever
depends if
wore
he's
them.
going down Cool Man's curve.
Oh, he needs one for that.
He wouldn't even let his mom put one of those things on him when he was a baby.
Too cool.
No,
Too
he
much
just
of a
shit into the
badass.
wind.
And by the way, when in Rome, if you're wearing a diaper, shit in it. And I
That's what it's
guarantee
for.
that's what Scott Dracula is doing on this episode,
He has to.
Quantum Leap. All right, this is a great episode. We're pretty much going to get right into it. The only other thing I want to point out is that we do have a guest star of the week. We have a couple, of course. The main one I want to mention is the female lead. The actress's name is Caroline Goodall,
Yeah.
not related, surprisingly, to Jane Goodall,
The chimp
the
scientist.
chimp expert.
How is that possible? Did they look for actors with the same name? It's like making a space show and being like, we want to find someone whose last name is Space.
I thought she actually was related because I was under the impression that Jane Goodall's kid was famous in some capacity. So I thought, actor, okay, that checks out. Maybe this is her. It's not.
No, this
Completely
is
unrelated.
Caroline Goodall. She's just in stuff.
She's been in a ton of stuff. She's a
in
good actor.
Schindler's
She is
List
good.
Mhm.
I
And
believed her cause.
and Hook, which is the thing I most know her from.
In the course of this episode where we see how devoted she is to the apes, I believed it. I felt it. She's passionate about this.
I wondered what the accent was on Caroline Goodall, and then I found out she, I guess, was raised in England with Australian parents, which is pretty cool. And she kind of sounds like she has a little bit of an English and Australian accent and American accent.
Well, did you guys see her and think, I know her from somewhere? Surely you did.
Yeah, because Hook.
You heard that accent. Well, Hook. She was also in something called Traitor, which just came out.
She was in Disclosure.
Treybar. Disclosure's one, Chasing Liberty, and Cliffhanger. She was also in a lot of big roles. Big-time actress. However, the three of us obviously know her from her award-winning tale that she weaved alongside Russell Crowe in the Australian movie The Silver Brumby.
Whoa.
That's her. She was the mom.
I did not realize that.
Blew my fucking mind when I saw it.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Brumby.
Man, that point in her career, she's still doing Brumbies. I guess they were, Brumby, I think, was supposed to be a bit better than it was.
Well, I think somebody won an award for that. It may have been an Australian
maybe
award.
the
Yeah,
horse.
it would have been. Maybe there's something about that movie that we didn't see where everyone else is like, oh my God, that's one of the best movies I've ever
Yeah.
seen.
You think it was censored for American audiences? Like they took out the wombat scenes or something? Could be.
There were a bunch of good, platypus and wombat scenes that they just ripped away. There's a Crocodile Dundee scene.
Well, anyway, she's a great actress. She does fine in this, whatever. It's okay. But the whole time I was looking at her, all I could think of was Brumby. Well, let's get into the episode. We begin. Intro number 1, same thing we did last time. By season 4, however, again, this is a season after last week's, it has gotten a bit of an upgrade. Still the same thing, but there is more footage of Sam pre-quantum leaping, also a mountain with a bunch of electricity. But then after this, it gets back to the same stuff. Sam's a woman. Sam's a different woman. Sam's a cowboy.
Here are some years.
Well, that's not yet. That's late. That's
Oh,
second
that's
intro.
true. But one thing I'd like to say about that part, they are right. Those are years.
They are, in fact, years. Yeah, this is the voiceover one.
Although this is the one that's not as good.
It's kind of like Renegade style, but of course has less harmonica, which I don't know if I approve of.
And less like of that sun-dappled road thing where it looks like a mirage.
With just a slowly approaching motorcycle noise. And then before you know it, anyway.
And that's how you know you're in it.
Sam gets zapped into his next body, and this time, he's in some sort of enclosed room. There's buttons and knobs everywhere, and he's wearing what appears to be a flight helmet and a suit with tubes going everywhere. Perplexed, he paws at his helmet and starts to freak out as a countdown begins, and the room he's in starts to rock and tremble. We also see a command center with a beautiful blonde scientist. This is Caroline Goodall. She's monitoring some beeping things and saying stuff like heart rate and blood pressure.
Science.
And also Frank Oz is there with her. He's twisting some knobs. As Sam continues to freak out, the scientist furrows her brow and seems shocked at his vitals. Finally, Frank Oz flips the switch labeled ignition, and Sam rocks even harder. Hold on. Not like he rocked last week.
Not the redhead.
I was
Exactly.
going to say, we already saw him. He does not have any face paint on.
Not this time. He lets out a scream, and suddenly we're in the sky as the very same boring song plays. Intro 2 begins. Again, mostly the same, but there are a few different clips here and there. One of them involves Sam dressed up like the Chiquita banana logo. He's in like the fruit all over him.
Very relevant.
We've also got another with Al. He looks like he's the ghost of Christmas past. He's waving some chains around. Otherwise, mostly the same.
And this is where all the years.
Yeah, this is
To correct myself.
1972.
1989.
1994.
1963.
Fuck.
No, you went too far back.
No, it's going to only be a lifetime.
It's only the Bacula era.
Now, back in what we have to assume is a space pod, Sam's still freaking out, and the scientist is talking a bunch more about blood pressure and heart rate, and she believes that it's so bad, she screams, abort the mission. So Frank Oz, he gets over there, and he stops the thing, and the hatch of the pod opens up. She reaches in and assures Sam everything's okay, helps him out of it. But again, it's on the ground. We're not in space.
I personally thought she waited a little too long to abort the mission.
You think so?
I was thinking all along, it's like, you got to stop that.
You got an upset
It's not safe
Bacula in there.
That's dangerous, Brian.
Yeah.
As he climbs out of the pod, that's when we notice his outfit, which by all accounts is an astronaut costume, except it's short-sleeved and also like little boy shorts and no footwear. So he's just wearing like a little jumper and nothing else.
There's something of an Eddie Munster quality to it, although a more like light one.
The scientist here takes off his helmet and asks if he's okay, while the words January 24th, 1961 appear across the screen. It's another date that is in fact real. I checked into it, real date.
I wouldn't know. Technically, none of us were there.
No.
So this is 13 years before the King Thunder episode.
Yeah, we went back in time. Sam takes several deep breaths and says he's never been better. She asks him, how are you? And the scientist leads him by the hand over to a medical station and begins to take his flight suit off, revealing a large white diaper underneath that we
She's
brought
acting
up.
like he's not talking.
Well, he is pretty okay with all of this, with being undressed by this lady, except he suddenly realizes he's an adult man wearing a diaper, so he covers himself. He kind of bends over, and that's when she says to him, Bobo, since when have you been so modest?
Bobo Bacula.
Sam kind of chuckles to himself and he goes, Bobo?
Am I a clown?
Bobo? That kind of sounds like a... And then he turns and looks in the mirror, but he doesn't see a reflection of a respected astronaut man looking back at him. He sees the reflection of a soon-to-be respected astronaut chimpanzee.
Pretty cool.
I wish somehow he was just a regular, really highly acclaimed astronaut. His name was Bobo. You know, astronaut Bobo, the first man on the moon?
We sent Neil Armstrong and Bobo up there.
This is one small step for man, one giant leap for Bobo.
Bobo, get off there.
Bobo, you break the space station.
Now I like this idea that you guys are going where it was Neil Armstrong and a chimp.
Yes.
That they sent on the moon with them. He's park caretaker.
We've been fighting this whole time.
He ate all the bananas already. We don't have bananas for the return trip. After all this, Sam then does a bunch of ape stuff. He like waves his arms around and acts like an ape while the scientist gathers some tools to analyze this Bobo. She then hoists Sam up. She grabs him underneath the arms and picks him up and sets him on a table to examine him. And it is overall hilarious often in this episode watching her treat him like an ape, but it's Scott Bakula sitting there. We're watching her, use a tongue depressor or scritch his chin or something or other. It's hilarious.
Those scenes work and accomplish what the show's going for. A lot of the scenes where they have Bakula in peril or Bakula just doing a voiceover and acting like an ape, we get too much of that. It's kind of like the extra footage from our last episode. You can tell they need to pad it to get to the hour with commercials.
This whole time, Sam is protesting and saying he's not a chimp. He's a man. But of course, all of his vocalizations are not coming out of Scott Bakula saying, I'm a man, I'm not a chimp. It's a chimp making chimp noises. Just like that. So this whole time, she just thinks my ape, Bobo, my chimp.
Yeah,
He's just being spicy.
Acting a little weird, but definitely isn't Scott Bakula.
Next to him, another chimp is there, and it's blowing raspberries at him. And the scientist says it's time to change Sam's diaper, but he really protests this one. So she relents. She's like, okay, I'm sorry. Until the chimp next to him flings some gooey stuff onto his face. The scientist says, Corey, stop flirting with Bobo. And so we're officially introduced to the love connection of the episode, and that's Corey.
Oh, man. I got to say, I really am a fan of Corey.
She's great.
Really, really adorable chimp.
I'm going to do a little bit of a sneak preview for the listener. Corey is actually the woman we see Scott Bakula get closest to physically.
That is true.
Despite all the women flinging themselves at him in the King Thunder
There's
episode.
a couple of just outright Scott Bakula kissing.
Yeah, and we'll
Corey.
get there. It's graphic.
It's fucking hot is what it is.
I mean, he certainly thinks so. There's no hesitation at all. I feel like that
leaps right toward her.
must have been like his personal chimp or something. He just
Yeah.
really loved that thing.
But his-
Dracula had a chimp.
His words to Al in the episode say no, but his actions say yes.
Yeah, Al appears and tells Sam he's lucky he didn't get put into a bullfrog. And then the scientist scratches Sam's chin and tells him to be good. So Al says, it's going to be hard to be good with you around, Doc.
Ooh, this is rough. Al has some moments in here where it's like, okay, Al, that's enough.
He's just a perv who can't be seen by people in the past. That's all it is.
I think to make Al a more effective, whatever he is, time officer, I think what you would put a blindfold on him.
Al tells Sam that this is all wonderful because Sam's a chimponaut. And in a few days, one of these lucky apes is going to be the first American to be launched into space. And it could be him.
I never thought about it that way.
If it's born
This
here,
is an American chimp.
or maybe it moves
This is
here
a
and they
chimp that likes
nationalize it.
hamburgers.
I think about that sometimes with people who just own cats. Like if you're in Japan and you have a cat, that cat's Japanese.
Yeah.
That's true. I have told my cat Koopa, who is kind of my version of Katie the girlfriend, which is my cat Koopa, that I'll just say that a lot for context in case there's a new listener. But I often will tell him he's an American tabby. I don't know why. That's what he technically is.
Yeah.
What if he's a spy? He's Russian.
Or, yeah, German or
He
something.
might be. If he pushes his fat together and he gets on the couch, he kind of looks like a furry Russian hat.
Just like the hat, yeah.
I hope those hats aren't that heavy.
Break your neck putting that on your head.
The Russians are built that way. Their necks are strong.
Stronger necks, yeah.
Nick strong to deal with snow falling on head.
Sam's having none of this stuff, and he says, I want to be out of this chimp body. I don't want to be a Bobo. So he decides to take matters into his own ape hands, and he writes, my name is Sam, on a nearby paper.
Not a good idea.
Are their hands stronger than ours? I feel like yes.
They're stronger, but less dexterous.
Yeah.
Like if you watch them, they don't have
That's
really
right.
great
They
motor
can't
But
control.
if they get
play
hold
guitar.
of it, they
No.
can smash it.
Yeah.
They could smash that guitar, but they can't fret for shit.
No, they're
Right.
not going to play that.
Which, according to Al, by the way, is an acceptable stage technique.
Of course.
I think this is risky on Sam's part. He's going to blow his cover, his quantum cover.
Well, Al says to him, like, why aren't you obeying the quantum rules? which I guess are pretend to be who you are.
I actually was frustrated with Sam for about the first 10 minutes because of this stuff. It's like, you've done these. I know he has mush brain, but you know you've got to do something.
Yeah.
Like you know you're on some sort of mission, and to give yourself away would be bad.
Yeah.
And obviously no monkey can write. Like, I also like the idea of him going further with it and be like, she didn't understand the sentence. I'm going to write a whole paragraph.
This is the time he decides he's just going to tell everyone, I'm a time traveler. I'm not really the person you think, or ape in this case.
Each time I hope my next sleep takes me home.
It's now in the body of this chimp. I'm just going to spill the whole thing.
Can you see Al?
Well, Al says to Sam, this is a bad idea, writing your name on this paper, because if they see it, they're going to dissect your brain, because it's a chimp that can write, I am Sam.
Fair enough, you don't want that.
And these evil people here, they would.
Oh, yeah. So he says, cool it with the human stuff. Be a chimp, and we'll figure out why you're here. But by now, the lady scientist has returned and brought along her boss, Dr. Tucker.
Boo.
She tells him Bobo's acting funny today, so Dr. Tucker tussles Sam's hair, grabs the piece of paper reading, my name is Sam on it, and then he laughs. He's like, this is a hilarious joke.
What a good practical joke. My head is a rectangle.
He fully believes that this is an ape and not Scott Dracula in an ape.
Yeah, which, it's Scott Dracula in an ape. We know that.
We're then introduced to essentially what is the main villain of the episode. That is a Dr. Winger.
Boo.
Dr. Tucker wanders over to him and shakes his hand while our female scientist gives Sam a banana and rubs his chin.
Right away, this Dr. Winger, you guys were thinking the same thing, right? This guy sucks.
For some reason in this scene, our lady scientist does not seem bothered by his presence. And I kept being like, why does she smile and not hit him in the head?
And I think we're
He's
supposed to
awful.
interpret that as, she's good-hearted and wants to give him the benefit of the doubt. But right away, his tone, the actor seems to have half memorized his lines. And that adds to kind of what I would call a drunken quality to the performance.
He's also kind of sniffing around her. It's like, what, do you want to go to lunch or dinner or something special?
He starts right in with it.
Yeah, a lot of staring, like weird staring. I know Al's a pervert,
Yes.
but this is the sort of like boring into the
He
soul.
did all but just grope. And he was thinking it.
Whereas Al is saying things partly to be funny and partly because he likes looking at
Sure.
ladies. This guy wants to touch ladies.
Al's the kind of like old man who has those nude playing cards, and you're like, you don't need to. What is this?
This is a little gross.
You're like,
but
but
it's not
he-
the worst.
He is a nice guy, I guess, but Dr. Winger, on the other hand, is you need to take him to the police.
Well, Sam tells Al to get on figuring out what he's supposed to do here so he can get back to being a normal human. And then he asks, what am I supposed to do in the meantime? Al responds by angrily saying, well, why don't you take that banana and peel it? And I think that was an insult. I'm not sure. Very weird scene.
It's kind of funny. I don't know why, but I did chuckle at it. It was almost like Al wanted to say a main thing, and he's like, no, I'm not going to.
Just peel the banana. Finally, several minutes in, we're given the name of this scientist woman as her boss introduces her as Dr. Ashton to that Dr. Winger guy, and then they dispense with the formalities. They shake hands, and they each say, call me Frank. And she says, well, call me Leslie. So we know Leslie Ashton, Frank Winger.
Frank Winger, good name for a piece of shit, if you ask me. I apologize to any Frank Wingers who might be listening.
They're awful.
Or this is not the first time we've hated a character named Frank either. So anyone named Frank who's listening to this podcast, sorry, but we hate your name.
This is surprisingly the first time we've hated on anyone named Winger. We haven't had any Wingers before.
No.
We've had a Breezer.
We had a Wings. We liked him.
Mhm.
I'm surprised we haven't had any Wingers with your list of fake 80s hair band songs,
True.
because Winger, definitely one of those, right?
Yep, along with Dawkin. Shout out to our buddy
Yeah.
Nathan Dawkin. I talked to him today. He's doing well. It turns out overall that this Frank, Dr. Winger, is a neurologist, and he's here to do some research at the NASA facility.
I feel like he's going to mention that as a neurologist a few times.
a couple times.
You wouldn't understand. You're not a neurologist.
The boss doctor tells him that Leslie is one of the top vets here working with the space chimps, and Dr. Winger asks if this is one of your future astronauts, referring to Bobo. And Leslie says, well, chimps can do everything a human can, except for one thing, swim. Turns out their bodies are too fat, or not fat enough. They don't have enough body
Too much
fat.
muscle.
I wonder if that'll come up later.
Nah.
By the way, this is absolutely true. Chimps really don't like water. And there's footage from like zoos and sanctuaries where it'll rain and like these big alpha chimps who are mean and tough, like frightened of the rain rush and they hide. So they don't really like water much.
Get me my umbrella.
Dr. Tucker says he needs to show Dr. Winger his cool centrifuge, and the latter shakes hands with Leslie As she says, it was a pleasure meeting you.
That's really what he says, too.
He does. They got a cool centrifuge. And then Winger says, yeah, well, perhaps we can do this again. And maybe next time you'll let me climb on top of you and hump until I'm finished. Because he starts right in.
It's real
with,
gross.
Something like, let's go and have dinner tonight. Like right away.
I think he escalated it too, didn't he? Like she said no to lunch and he's like, well, how about dinner? Just kept going.
He asked her for drinks at one point, too, which may also be in here. He's just constantly hounding her.
Dr. Tucker tussles Sam's hair again, saying, bye, Bobo, and he and Dr. Winger leave. Leslie grabs Sam by the hand and leads him as he crouches like an ape to his cage, and they pass a chimp with a tag around its neck, and this is Corey, by the way, with the number 69 on it.
Oh.
It's a preview of what Bobo is going to be getting up to.
But she does notice Bobo's acting a little bit weird. That's Leslie, by the way, not Corey.
Bobo, you're acting a little like Scott Bakula.
By the time Sam realizes he's about to be put in a big metal cage, he decides he's having none of it, and then he does a bunch of ape stuff. He just shakes his head and like, no, and he's floppy cheeks and everything. And then the scene abruptly cuts to some stock footage of Cape Canaveral.
Weird choice, I would say. And it happens 3 or 4 times.
Sam does one of his random voiceovers again and talks about how during the space race, America was so desperate to beat the Ruskies, like Brian's cat, that they were launching anything and everything into the air. And he couldn't help but hope that he wouldn't wind up as one of those failures. And as he says this, we see footage of a rocket just go and then explode. It's a fuck-up footage.
He had nothing to do with it.
Comrade, I love President Reagan. Wait, that's too late.
We just keep going to Reagan as the choice today.
Reagan is always the president, Nancy.
In some ways, I sure seem like the most American one, don't I? A celebrity with an empty head.
In the Watchmen thing, was it Nixon that stayed president for like 30 years or forever? I was thinking it was Reagan. I was like, oh, I guess that's just something that happens in some histories.
Surely I would have a heart attack.
I hate China. Back at the lab, Sam is now in his cell eating a banana like a fucking stereotype. And he's staring eye to eye with his cellmate, Chimp 69, again, Corey. That's the girl ape that has the hots for Ape Scott Dracula.
You think he just got this thing back from King K. Rool, this banana?
No, he wouldn't steal from Donkey Kong. Come on, don't be like that. Meanwhile, Al returns and hologram walks through the cage, giving Sam a bunch of shit about his new chimp girlfriend. Corey the chimp then reaches out and points at Al, suggesting perhaps she can see him while others can't, and here we go.
She can see you, Al. Of course, all animals can see me, but she's only got eyes for you.
Sam just ignores his savage burn. I don't know how. He asks, what the fuck am I supposed to be doing here? Al recounts a bunch of science facts, like how chimps and humans are so close you could actually share blood between the two species, which is kind of, species, is that right? Is that the right division between human and...
Surely, yeah.
Or is it phylum or class or something? I think it's species. Anyway, 2 things. First off, that's mostly correct. Although you absolutely wouldn't want to interchange chimp and human DNA.
Yeah, you need like a blood transfusion or something. Give me that chimp blood.
You're not like, I'll take the chimp blood. It would have to be, blood, by the way.
I think we know from film and television, if you were to ingest a large quantity of chimp blood, you would turn part chimp.
They should give the person who needs the blood the choice. Like, do you want the human blood or do you want the chimp blood?
It's a box you can check, chimp or human.
The human has a lot of subdivisions for all the different blood types, and there's a second category that just says chimp.
This person who's clearly not doing well and is kind of ill, looking at all the different types of blood they can take.
Fun.
Well, the upside's there, but do I want to have a chimp quality in me?
Indeed.
I do like bananas.
Yeah, maybe it will increase my love for bananas.
If I die, this would be fun in the obituary.
True. Died from chimp blood poisoning.
Tried to become part chimp before death.
Well, the second thing I'm going to point out is if you Google, can chimps and humans share blood like Van did, Google tries to autofill the question as, can chimps and humans be good friends?
What?
And I think so.
If Google
Google
tries to redirect you to the dark web, you're wanting to share blood with a chimp?
Yeah, I'll get you some chimp blood by Thursday. You got the Bitcoin for it?
I was going to say, I wonder what the going rate on a bag of chimp blood is.
What do you got, $100?
More than that.
$400.
Couple thousand. Come on. Don't be a cheapskate and get that $400 fake chimp blood.
That's for the shitty quality chimp blood. You want the good stuff.
Like the equate level chimp blood.
Turns out it's like macaque blood. It's like they just faked it.
Yeah, it's just not quite as good. And it actually kills you.
Al says a bunch more obvious facts and then says something about Sam working for an organ grinder, like a little monkey does. And then it pops out and you give it money, I think.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen
I
that?
have a little organ grinder monkey.
Yeah, they're evil.
Yeah, and so I appreciated this.
By the way, your AI program, when you run it, it's gonna have a little thing, chimp blood. It's
Yes,
gonna
it will.
talk
The
about
whole
that.
segment.
Yeah, there's 5 minutes in there about chimp blood.
And then Leslie comes by to dispense some nighttime treats for the apes. So Al says some more gross stuff about how hot she is. She's got some lemon drop treats. I like lemon drops. They're pretty good. And Corey accepts hers immediately, but Sam doesn't feel up to it. So he shakes his head and says no before he finally relents and lets her put the treat in his mouth. And she says it's really sweet, meaning the candy, while Al ogles her and says, "You're really sweet too." She is, but still gross.
She's had a lot of attention in this episode that is painfully awkward and uncomfortable. She takes it well, though.
It seems like an accurate portrayal of a woman navigating the world.
In a field, too, that's male-dominated especially, it would be awful. And I'm sure still is.
As she leaves, by the way, Al, A-L, capital A, lowercase L, looks like AI every time I see it.
Agreed. Every time I look at my notes, I'm like, why am I talking? They're not at that part of the future, that part of the Bacula life, because he's still alive.
Oh, yeah.
This is eligible. You could leap to 2024.
As Leslie leaves, Al keeps on with the creepy stuff, saying, boy, she really makes me wish I was an ape.
Went on for a while.
And the truth is, he is an ape in this case. And, of course, Sam says something like, you are acting like an ape.
Yeah, fuck you, Al.
Al then looks up what Ziggy has to say about Dr. Leslie Ashton, and it's just a bunch of factoids, including that she grew up in the place that makes the labels for Al's cigars, Cameroon, and that's obviously the most important detail about Cameroon. Turns out her father, who was a doctor, set up a field clinic there to help the local population, so she grew up around chimps. Of course, it's Africa. There are chimps. After some more ogling, Al reveals that it turns out the reason Sam is here tomorrow is because 2 apes are going to be picked to be launched into space, and Sam needs to make sure Bobo's one of those 2 chimps. Sam freaks out and says, I don't want to go to space.
Yeah, and he's doing a pretty shitty job of it so far, too. He's
Not
acted
good.
real weird.
But Al assures him, and he says, you don't have to go into space. You just have to make sure Bobo wins the
contest,
space race.
the space
if you will.
contest.
Yeah. Sam asks what happens if Bobo gets cut from the program, and Al says that information is still classified. Ziggy can't read it yet, so all they know is that Bobo disappears after this. They ratchet up the drama a bit more by also pointing out that if Bobo doesn't win, not only will the ape vanish, but so too will Scott Dracula.
We cannot have that. Either one of those things.
There's some more stock footage of rockets doing rocket shit, and then a Jeep comes driving up to the NASA base, where we see it's the following morning, and Sam is groggily waking up with a banana peel on his face. He's also narrating again, this time saying he needs to shave his entire body because, ape.
He's an ape.
This is like Scott Bakula's 5-minute stand-up routine on being an ape.
I feel like I need to shave on my whole body.
But tiss. A man had exited the Jeep a moment ago, and he's here now with a food tray to feed the chimps when he offers a pear to Corey. I think it's a pear. Might be an avocado, which would be weird.
That is weird. I bet they would.
It's these millennial chimps, man.
I like to spread it on their toast.
Yeah, they don't even want to eat raw meat with their butt. Yeah.
I'd watch that.
Woo! That's what a real American does.
But as soon as Corey gets her hands on the fruit, that guy starts banging on the cage with something to frighten her. Sam yells at the guy, which gets that guy's attention, and he gets an angry look on his face before Corey then squirts some ape mouth juice at him, which causes the man to call her a little cretin.
This man is awful.
Oh, he's terrible. And it only gets worse. Sam then off camera says, good shot, Corey. And it is that obnoxious.
He's into it. It's a kind of like a little kid with a slingshot laugh.
But he's an ape.
And a grown man at the same time.
The man raises his hand with a piece of fruit in it, but before he can hit someone with the fruit, I guess, Leslie arrives and asks, hey, what's going on? The man plays dumb and says, it doesn't look like Corey likes me. I sure hope Corey's the only one. The other apes might love me. Just then, Dr. Winger arrives and insists Leslie call him Frank again, first name basis. And he asks her if one of these chimps will be the ones to go to the moon. His words, go to the moon. And she says, yeah. I mean, one of these guys will go into space. I don't know if they'll make it to the moon. But then she corrects herself and says, or girls. Sorry, Corey.
We don't want to misgender these chimps.
No, and then Corey makes a bunch of chimp fart noises with her mouth. So Dr. Winger asks her, okay, do you really believe that the chimps can understand what you're saying? And Leslie goes, of course. You'd be surprised at how well they can communicate. In fact, this one here, this Bobo over here, that's Scott Dracula in a diaper.
He's an actor. He memorizes lines.
Frank Winger's already like, well, I mean, do you think they'll make it, or do you think I can bash their head in?
That's kind of my thing. I like to kill him.
Corey then pinches Sam on the butt, which gets a little bit of a rise out of him. And Leslie says, oh, well, Corey's had her first crush on Bobo.
Ugh.
And so Dr. Winger looks at Leslie and says, yeah, I know how she feels.
Gross.
Wow.
Something about Winger in this scene, too. This is where I earmarked that he seems drunk.
Yeah, he's a creep.
He's way too close to her in all scenes as well.
He also looks too old for her anyway. It's like, what are you doing, Frank?
She completely ignores his bizarre advances, I guess, and stands up to change the subject. She asks what he's researching, and he says, oh, that's classified.
Oh, it's evil and top secret.
But no, I better tell you so you'll be impressed.
Well, he does say, maybe if you go out with me to a date at the officers club, it'll loosen some lips, and I'll tell you.
What a cool place that sounds like.
So she says, well, maybe if I'm finished. And he goes, all right, awesome, all right. And he stomps off. He thinks he's got it sealed.
Seemed pretty clear at this point she's blowing him off.
Nicely. She did it well.
Yeah, she's really trying to be polite.
Definitely like, yeah, we'll see if I have time.
I can't imagine turning down drinks with Winger at the officers club at 6 p.m. It's pretty easy to turn that down.
Leslie then gives Bobo his, quote, favorite drink, which is some weird purple liquid in a baby bottle.
It looks good.
It looks interesting.
And he likes it.
He begrudgingly takes a drink, and then his expression shows that the drink's not bad. He's kind of sucking it down. But then she says, oh, I made it with your favorite protein, Bobo, caterpillars. And he retches and spits it all
I
out.
would have been fine to keep eating this. If I already was into it enough.
If you already knew it was good, I would definitely have had his reaction where it was like, once I know it's no longer good.
Later that day, Leslie is walking out of the lab, and she's caught by Dr. Winger again, almost like he's stalking her.
I do like you saying caught by Dr. Winger. That's appropriate.
That is actually the best verb for it, because it does feel almost like paralyzing, and you, the viewer, cannot get away.
And she's clearly trapped. He asks once again about their drinks at the officers club tonight, and she's clearly forgotten all about that. And she says, over the next 2 days, my pupils, meaning the apes, they have all my attention. So until this project is complete, I really won't have time to go on a date with you. The two walk and talk, basically. This is like a house thing. And they're basically just going over their backgrounds. Leslie talks about her father opening the clinic in Cameroon. And Dr. Winger says he was a flight surgeon in the military, but he doesn't miss it because he lost a lot of his friends to fighting. One day you're slamming beers with the boys. The next you're slamming their coffins into the ground.
He was doing that about 5 minutes before this scene.
He does show some depth here, and we get a sense that maybe there's a good guy in here somewhere. That's at least what the show is trying to present, because he's doing things for the right reason, but as we find out, it's not the right things to do.
His character makes a lot more sense if it were possible for him to just be a straight up idiot. But he's like the head of a science project for astronauts.
And he definitely thinks that he is deserving of a lot of recognition for that.
He flaunts his credentials a lot.
Constantly.
But he's not using them if he has them.
Well, don't forget Ben Carson, that political guy,
Point.
Neurologist, obviously very good at his job in that regard. Total idiot. Goofy, dumbass idiot.
Yeah,
so
it
happens. Once again, though, he asks her, if you're not going to be able to do drinks with me, maybe we can have a late dinner.
Ugh.
And then she smiles and says, okay, I'll do it, but you got to wait until the project's over. I can't do it until then. I'm busy. Later in the lab, Al is rushing over to Sam, who's being examined by Leslie. And Al tells the ape man that he's got to watch the fuck out. He's like, Sam, there's trouble on the horizon. He's worked the fuck up. He says, be on your guard, Sam. Be on your fucking guard. Because guess what? There's this health drink that they give to the apes, and you will not believe what they put in it. And Sam kind of rolls his eyes and says, caterpillars? And then he points to a baby bottle with purple liquid in it. And Al's like, oh, well, how did you know? And then he kind of looks at the thing and goes, I guess they squish him up real good.
This is one of the best Dean Stockwell moments. He kind of mumbles after that, too. That might not be so bad.
Yeah, he won't stop talking about what's clearly just disgusting, Scott Bakula.
He's almost talked himself into like, I want that.
I'll try. If I weren't a hologram, I'd try it. Sam gets Al back on track and says he's tired of these exams, so do you have any more information for me so I can get out of this ape body? But Al does what Al does, and he says, no, but I would like to play doctor with this one, pointing to Leslie. Sam's fed up with Al being a creep and also fed up with the tests, so he pushes Leslie's hand onto his forehead and says, feel this? I'm fine, you don't need to take my temperature. But she keeps pushing and pushing, so he gives up and relents, opens his mouth wide and says, take your temperature. Only she doesn't do that. She walks behind him, and he's confused, still going, Al goes, Sam, I don't think she's going through the mouth. And then she puts a thermometer up his asshole.
I think that should have elicited his catchphrase.
Oh boy.
Spencer, this
That's
has happened
good.
a few times recently. That is perfect. Call Quantum Leap.
Get him on the horn.
Get him in, put in there. That's a perfect addition.
They need to bring everyone back from like their current moments. What are you guys doing? Let's refilm that
Need to
scene.
bring him back, Ila.
Well, now it's time to do some of the astronaut tests. So Sam is strapped into a rotating chair with a bunch of dials and switches, all on a panel in front of him. Al mentions that he used to be an astronaut and that this test is a piece of cake, although it turns out he has no idea what this test is. I see your look, Brian. He was apparently an astronaut.
Really scares me that Al was allowed to be an astronaut. I could almost buy him being like a good detective or something because, he's kind of Columbo-like.
Yeah, he doesn't have a studious academic nature at all. How could he have done astronaut stuff?
You guys out here judging books by their cover.
Maybe astronauts a long time ago were kind of different in that they were just like anybody. You could just be like, I think I'll just decide I'm an astronaut.
Maybe it becomes a less respected field in the future that they come from. Maybe it's like, well, now that we have all been to space, anyone can do it, so it's just idiots that are astronauts.
Al's a freelance astronaut.
It's only the poorest who do that now.
It's only the cigar chompers.
Sam starts freaking out because he's probably afraid if he keeps spinning, he'll turn into Wonder Woman. So he tells Al to help him figure out what this test is supposed to be. Al spies on Corey, the other chimp doing the same test nearby, and says it appears that Sam is supposed to flip a switch corresponding to a light on the panel in front of him. Sam tries it and gets zapped in the foot, letting out a bit of a screech.
I would have fucking figured this out so easy if I was a monkey.
But you're not, Brian. Mr. Big Brain with your 3 books at the same time.
They never let me quantum leap.
Well, you haven't invented the quantum leap project.
I would suck so bad at it.
Yeah, I'd give up too early.
I'm only good at I'm 2 or 3 things.
Quantum leaping, not one of them.
And none of these.
How do you know? You haven't tried it.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, you couldn't put me on TV in a diaper for 45 minutes and people watch it.
That's true. Sam and Al both start screaming at one another, and Sam keeps fucking it up, so he gets zapped a few times. But eventually he does the thing right, the thing beeps, and a couple of dog biscuits come out of a little window, and Al's like, you're an ape, be an ape, eat it, eat the biscuits. As Sam argues against it, Al argues back, and meanwhile, Dr. Tucker is watching all this alongside Leslie, and he says he's concerned about Bobo's coordination.
He says, I don't understand what's going on here. You have a hologram man talking to a diaper Scott Bakula in an ape body who won't eat his snacks.
But finally, Sam relents, and he eats the green ape biscuits. Al asks how it tastes, and Sam says, have you ever eaten a cat box?
Okay, so I don't like that wording.
Cat box. And eating. Nope, not a fan. Al suggests grabbing the tube nearby, which has fluid in it, to help wash it down. Sam does it, but then he gets a gross look on his face when he reveals it's actually the caterpillar puree. Got to be better than the dog biscuits, at least, right?
Yeah.
Just basically, this test seems like a total failure on Sam/Bobo's part. Next up is the bull riding challenge, and Sam is strapped into a seat with a joystick, and he's supposed to try and maintain his balance, but he sucks at it. Then they go into the big centrifuge thing, start spinning Sam around a whole bunch. His face gets all flappy, and then he barfs up a bunch of caterpillar juice.
It seems like a cool
biscuits.
Centrifuge. I see why they wanted to go look at it earlier.
Now you know. You questioned it earlier, but now you're like, oh, I get it.
It's like when you go over to somebody's house and they're like, hey, I got this new couch, or I got this new TV.
I got this new centrifuge.
You guys think you could go on the centrifuge and not be sick?
I would vomit immediately.
I would too. The few times I've been to amusement parks, if anything spins me, I'm done for the rest of the day.
Van was there when I prolifically vomited everywhere in Council Bluffs, Iowa at an amusement park ride that we were doing before a bowling tournament as 16-year-olds.
I don't like any of those rides, but I wouldn't vomit. I didn't have a strong stomach.
You might be a little better at the spinny stuff. For some reason, I just can't do anything spinny. I don't get nauseous ever, hardly, but...
You would be a bad Wonder Woman.
I would not be able to be an astronaut, is what I was going to say. Wonder Woman I could do.
I am constantly nauseous.
The weird thing is, like, even the pinata spinning, that everyone does as kids. Everyone's like, oh, you're 9, I'm going to spin you 9 times. I
That was bad.
I couldn't walk after they spun me 9 times when I was at my friend's birthday party, just over a piñata thing. It was just a gentle spin. Couldn't walk. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, we've killed him."
Spencer's dead from the piñata.
You won't even get to enjoy the candy.
You send your son to a child's birthday party and he dies.
Oh, how did it happen? Well, he spun around 9 times.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's up with that. So the centrifuge bothered me. It wasn't a good scene for me.
Now imagine slurping down some caterpillar juice right after.
That would also do it, yeah.
Well, back in his cage, Al comforts Sam, telling him, "One time I tossed my cookies on the teacup ride at Disneyland." And in the background, we see Dr. Tucker telling Leslie he doesn't believe either Sam or Corey are good enough to be space apes.
Let's bash their heads in.
Hey, that's kind of funny because the teacup is like the little kid ride. I think that's what it's known for.
Yeah.
As being like, I mean, I've never been to any of these places, but I think that's what the joke is that Al was just like on this simple ride that anyone could go on and puked everywhere.
I think the teacups are what a little Dakota Fanning is in that movie with Brittany Murphy, Uptown Girls.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I think that's where she hides when she's mad. So I think it is a kid's ride.
Makes sense.
Okay, I like that joke.
Don't smoke your cigar before getting on the teacups.
And he was, during too. I was probably doing my air guitar while I was on there.
Dr. Tucker continues and says he's going to remove Corey and Bobo from the program. Leslie protests, saying Bobo is acting weird, so maybe he's got a bug. And then Corey just fucked up because she was too distracted by Bobo being an idiot.
Well,
and she's horny.
Yeah,
And she's
so
in love
horny.
with him, yeah.
She's basically in heat. You know what she's hoping Bobo hits? Hot spot.
Rock the redhead, man.
I guess they're brunettes.
I wish they
guess.
were red chimps. Oh, you like that bright red
Orangutans.
chimp?
Yeah, that's who Clint Eastwood fucks.
Oh, yeah. And then beats up like street hobos with.
Yeah, on behalf of and with.
Are we talking rawhide again? Dr. Tucker apologizes and says he's returning the two to the chimp colony for reassignment to another project. Leslie continues to protest as the two walk away, and Al reveals that Ziggy has finally figured out what happened to Bobo after he was kicked out of the program.
Oh, he probably turned out okay, right?
Not so much. Turns out there was an autopsy report for him, and cause of death was listed as massive head trauma.
Oh, that's one of the bad ones. Bad kinds of head trauma.
Massive, yeah. If it's minor, it's not as big of a deal.
Also really bad, but...
No, apples and oranges, I say. As Al says this, a really concerned look crosses his face, Sam's face, and even Corey's face as the scene fades.
That shot ruled. The shot of Corey. I know that it was a serious moment, but I did smile.
There's something about when they must have known this because they do so many close-ups on Corey, but there's something about her face in the camera that just makes you
I'd like
happy.
to add Corey to the podcast
It'd be wonderful.
as one of our hosts.
Shit everywhere, but that's fine.
Yeah, well, that's already a problem.
There's more rocket failure stock footage and voiceover recaps as Sam narrates that the chimp space program was a massive success and that the chimps that went into space were welcomed back during the Cold War as heroes.
Not as traitors.
But unless he can figure out a way to prevent it, Bobo is still going to wind up dead. That afternoon, Al and Sam are discussing what to do when that mean guy from earlier with the pears, he arrives alongside another guy pushing a handcart.
What is his deal? So he's a military guy. He has a little uniform that says Stern. Like he's Howard Stern's younger brother, which I would almost believe with what a inconsiderate jerk he is, and it's the 90s.
I mean, you have it all figured out. I don't know what the question is.
But look, what's his job?
I think he's like janitor.
He's dressed in a baggy janitor type outfit.
Maybe he's just, do whatever guy. Like we need a guy to go do stuff. That's him.
And he is not painted in any tones of gray. This man
He's
is
evil.
bad.
When the two guys show up, the other apes in the room start going nuts because obviously these are bad guys. And they approach Corey and Bobo's cage with the first guy saying, "I heard you monkeys ain't going to space because you're too stupid to make the grade."
If you have to talk shit to an animal, you should right then recognize you are on the very bottom rung of the humans.
I literally wrote down, "I'd like to remind you that this is a full-grown human male insulting the intelligence of a chimpanzee."
Yeah, it's really a self-burn.
But Corey, she's on her game, as she always is, and she mouth squirts some more water or maybe caterpillar liquid right into the face of the main goon, much to the delight of the second goon.
Corey's very punk.
Well, the second guy says, "Hey, she's a pretty good shot," to which the first guy says, "So am I." And then he pulls out a gun and shoots Corey.
Okay. When this first happened,
I jumped up.
I had the same reaction as Scott Bakula the ape, and I was in my bed and my mouth shot open.
No.
No,
Mhm.
because I tell you what, if they'd killed Corey here, Quantum Leap really would get a letter from me. A letter of disgust.
Well, the good news is it's a tranquilizer gun, so she'll be okay, but she was knocked unconscious. The goons open Corey's cage door, and the first one says he joined the Air Force, this is the bad one, to fly planes, not clean cages. So he's got a chip on his shoulder.
Well, he's not doing that either. He's being evil.
Well, the second guy goes, "Oh, I don't really mind cleaning cages." So then the first guy says, well, of course you don't. So it's maybe the second guy's not pure evil.
He's not, and I like that they did that, because at first in my notes, I had it down as like these two evil guys, and then I started to notice this guy actually never really goes along with it. Especially once he realizes Stern's true colors.
That's right.
His private parts, if you will.
They drag Corey out onto the handcart, and the second guy says, wait a second, I thought Dr. Winger wanted chimps numbers 61 and 90. This chimp is 69, which is hot as fuck. But the real bad one says, no, we'll just take chimp 61, stick him in that cage.
The Roger Maris chimp.
That's right, correct. So the other goon obliges, all while Sam sits there in his diaper, unable to do anything. He asks Al what happens to Corey. Turns out she also dies of massive head trauma that very day, although the cause of it all still classified.
Here again, I found myself thinking that Bakula was doing a really good job as a physical actor, showing that he needed out of the cage and can't be.
Like banging into it and really
and having
nervous.
some real urgency to it.
Yeah, he actually seemed very emotionally invested at this point.
He did.
Not even in his own fate, but Corey's.
And you know what? So was I.
Mm-mm.
This stuff is pretty good for what the show is, because we do like Corey.
I love the chimps, and I really hated all of the people who were doing harm to them in this episode. I just hated them. As much as I've hated anyone in any of the shows we've done.
With all of us being animal people, it is anything like this is gonna hit us.
All right, Sergeant Major Jackson. Or
He was bad.
Or Evil Goon. Who's worse?
I mean, it's Sergeant Major Jackson. One of the truest villains we've ever covered.
And we got to him right away, too.
It was like episode 7 or something. Maybe a little after that, but close. Sam and Al look up Dr. Winger on Ziggy and realize that it is possible, since he's a neurologist, and both Bobo and Corey die.
How did you find that out?
Since they both die due to massive head trauma, it's possible he's the cause of their deaths, likely from some sort of animal testing he's doing. Unfortunately, Sam can't do anything as he's locked up in his cage, but the good news is Leslie has arrived and she's really confused. She sees Chimp 61 in Corey's cage and says, Kathy, what are you doing in Corey's cage? And Kathy responds with a hearty, ack! She can't get a man, guys.
No, good thing Bobo's there.
Sam keeps trying to tell Leslie what happened, and we get like a real Lassie scene here. He pantomimes what happened to the scientists, and she pieces it all together. He points the direction, pokes at her lab coat so that she understands a doctor took Corey, then points at her ring and flaps his arm so she says, Dr. Winger took her?
That's obviously the best part.
Now, because Dr. Ashton is looking for an ape and not Scott Dracula in a diaper, she is confounded that Bobo was able to piece together abstract constructs like rhyming and what wings are, so she locks eyes with Sam and flute music begins to play, and the two just look longingly at one another.
It's pretty incredible.
The two goons then show back up, and all the chimps start going, get this, ape shit.
Good one.
Because they're apes.
And they probably have shit in there.
And that's a
as
common
we've discussed.
expression. Full of shit. Not anymore. They shit it out, fling it.
No, one guy doesn't mind cleaning it.
Sam points at the two, and Leslie demands to know what happened to Corey. The evil goon says, oh, she's right there.
That is Corey. You wouldn't know the difference between your own research projects.
That you've been watching for 2 years and have grown to love and know?
Got her. She just thinks because she grew up in the Cameron Islands.
Somehow, though, I do think that this Kathy is less powerful than Kathy from Father Knows Best.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah. At least in terms of her strength of base, her center of gravity.
Well, Leslie corrects the guy and says, no, that's Kathy. You took Corey to Dr. Winger's lab, didn't you? When she asks what kind of research he's doing, the goon says, I'm not at liberty to discuss. So Sam points to his noggin, and Leslie goes, head? And then Sam bangs his head into the bars of the cage, so she understands head impact.
Massive head trauma.
It's amazing. This part needed to be more serious for a better show, but it doesn't for Quantum Leap. It's really funny watching Bakula do this stuff.
This all confounds that evil goon who says, what the hell? As he just witnessed a chimpanzee give up military secrets, essentially.
What grade of clearance does Bobo have?
He keeps staring at Bobo, totally confused, and Leslie grabs him by the jumpsuit and demands to know where Winger's lab is. Goon shoves her back, so Sam grabs him by the throat and starts choking him as
Yeah.
Leslie continues to demand answers.
I was so mad here. I wanted them all to just get the shit beat out
Me
of
too.
them.
I wanted all the chimps loose doing roundhouse kicks.
Yeah, I wanted to end with them just their limbs torn all over the place.
Maybe ending
Like a real chimp
humanity
attack.
or something even.
No, that's 28 weeks later or whatever. Didn't that originate from a chimp in a lab?
Oh, you're
think it
right.
did, yeah.
I'd forgotten
It's a-
about that.
It's a good reference there.
Probably the Chinese and the Wuhan lab starting them coronaviruses of America.
Oh, poor America.
But then Dr. Winger has walked on the scene, and he questions what all is happening here. Leslie asks where Corey is, and the goons reveal they must have made a simple mistake. That's all. And the less evil of the goons says, "Oh, we're real sorry." He does apologize. So Winger also apologizes and says, "I'll return Corey and use a different chimp."
We'll kill someone else.
Look, I can murder anyone. It doesn't have to be your fave.
So Leslie confronts him. However, she accuses him of bashing in a chimp's brain as a science experiment, and he refutes this and says, no, I'm testing flight helmets.
Oh, he gets real self-righteous here.
Yeah, I'm not merely bashing in an animal's brain, I'm doing it within a helmet. She continues to question and berate him, so he asks her if she knows how many men they lost in Edwards. And it turns out it was 1 in 4, which seems exceptionally high.
25%, yeah. It
Whatever
seems
this
like
thing
that
is.
shouldn't be legal to even allow anyone to get involved with.
This is too where he starts to get like, you wouldn't get it. You're not a neurologist.
Mhm.
You're just a dumb woman.
You'd never understand how to make dumb, unscientific decisions because of past trauma.
His position is that he's doing this helmet testing to improve the quality to make it safer for human pilots. That's a novel thing.
I swear, the second he said it, I was like, well, then this doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly, because her position is that chimps' brains and skulls are so different to humans, they are, that any sort of data you might glean from this test is worthless. It is. So I know it's the 60s,
He
but
keeps arguing the similarities neurologically between humans and chimps, and she keeps saying that has nothing to do with a physical impact to a much thicker skull, which chimps have, which I know from zoo books.
Yeah, he's saying my specialty is better than yours, and your knowledge is irrelevant because I'm a neurologist and I would know and you wouldn't.
But when his thing just has nothing to do with anything, he just is like, so if the genetic makeup of two different species is similar, then if we try to bash the physical carapace open,
it'll be the same.
it'll be the same.
Well, and I'll rant here for a bit, if you will. I'm, of course, no expert in animal testing, but for the most part, a lot of the tests that are done on apes and monkeys in particular gives data that doesn't actually help us in the long run. That's what most of the people protesting a lot of animal testing say is you're doing this and saying it works, but in reality it doesn't. The data is, you can't transfer that to humans for the most part. And personally, I'm almost entirely against animal testing, although I do understand that there's enough of a moral question to say, can we do X test to Y animal that benefits us?
Well, you're smart enough not to be black and white about it.
True, yeah. Like there's a very gray area. But the major problem with a lot of animal testing is the quality of life of the animals is never good enough. And that's particular with monkeys. It's a terribly cruel thing because to keep data safe, you have to separate the test subjects. Monkeys are extremely social animals. So if you keep them in a cage that's not big enough for them to run around in with no other contact with other monkeys, they legit go crazy. They're smart. Monkeys are close to us. They have intelligent brains-ish. So they will like do circles or loops. And eventually you'll see videos of monkeys that are like attacking their own feet. And people are like, oh, it's cute. He's being goofy. No, their brain has broken. They have something called floating limb disorder. And it happens in like an absurd percent, like 80% of monkeys.
And this is similar, I think, with like ocean life that's
Yes.
kept in captivity that's smarter as
like
well.
orcas, they're in pools that are, a 500th of the size of what they need to be
Right.
in. So they go crazy. Like Blackfish, is that it?
Yeah,
The documentary? That's the one that went crazy.
I never
killed its
did
trainer.
watch that. I started to and then got the impression that it would upset me.
Yeah.
It was one of those days where I was like, I can't be watching this.
And this, by the way, is all in government-owned facilities, which are bad, but they do have to adhere to certain standards that they often don't adhere to. Private-owned animal test facilities are hell. And guess who owns a private-owned animal testing facility? Elon Musk with his Neuralink chips.
Of course.
And he was trying to put out something that, we're ready for human tests. He might have even tried it already. But
I believe, yes.
some journalists found that some absurd number, like 90% of the monkeys just straight up died.
Yeah.
Oftentimes because of bad practices they do. His organization is torturing monkeys and other animals And that shit needs to stop.
The
That is
quality of
bad.
life thing you said is really important too, because I think that's just something that most people don't think about when it comes to anything we're doing with animals. That's an element of like someone being a vegetarian that a lot of people don't understand. They're like, well, there's so many of them, we're going to eat them anyway. And it's like, well, no, part of it is just abstaining from being a party to the process also, and the way that the animals are held and live, that are forced to live their lives.
Yeah, fattening up a turkey to where it can't even breathe
Yeah.
right, and it lives in a giant building with other turkeys and has no room to walk. It's mean. It's cruel.
There is something I really like about this episode, even though I do think it's a little blunt-headed about the whole thing. I do enjoy it even wanting to think about the idea of why do humans believe they have more of a right than any other living thing.
Yeah.
Which is a very heady topic that even now people are like, huh, that's dumb. We don't need to think about that. But it doesn't seem right that we're allowed to destroy every other species that has ever existed on Earth and Earth itself, which seems to be our thing.
Like our goal almost. And every single scientist will say every animal plays a role in this niche. And if you eliminate one animal, that's food for another, then maybe we won't have cows to have steaks from or something along those lines. So people are dumb and mean,
Yeah.
and they don't want to change.
Some animals we eat as steaks. Some of these animals have a role in that they need to be astronauts sent into space.
And some of them get Scott Dracula inside of them.
Those are
in
the
one way or
luckiest,
another.
the luckiest of our animals.
All right, let's get back to Quantum Leap after our little soapbox here.
So anyway, Scott Bakula is in a diaper.
Yep. Leslie and Dr. Winger continue arguing the merits of the tests here. Winger tells her she's being too emotional, which is basically man speak for woman problems.
Yeah, you can throw that out there to be like, you're just doing what women do.
Well, obviously, men don't ever get emotional. I mean, no one remembers the Brett Kavanaugh hearings when he was being put on the Supreme Court where he was sobbing because someone said something mean to him.
I've never seen anyone with more conviction deliver the line, I like beer.
That's true.
I'm not sure that I'm that passionate about as many things as Brett Kavanaugh was about enjoying beer.
Leslie says, no, I'm not being emotional. I am being rational and scientific, which you are not. So he starts to question her credentials because she's a vet and he's a doctor. So he says her opinion has zero merit. Then they measure their dicks and they talk all about their various degrees.
Because she's thinking about this scientifically in terms of what needs to be done, and he's thinking about it in terms of like the patriarchy system that gave him this power.
Yeah, I was put here, so obviously I know what's right. What I say goes. Finally, he stomps off and she tromps after him, says she's going to go tell Dad, basically. And he says, well, who do you think approved these experiments I do in the first place?
Dad gave me the keys to the car.
She says there's no way Dr. Tucker would approve an invalid experiment in the first place. And this really pisses him off. Invalid experiment. So they argue a bunch more. Now, he does often invoke that he doesn't want to use animals, but the results justify the means in his mind. Finally, the two realize we're at an impasse, so they anger stomp off in different directions.
And
Smart
like,
decision.
the thing is, like, she's not really disagreeing with that. With
Right.
his sentiment that maybe sometimes it's necessary. She's disagreeing with the fact that his experiment is necessary because it just flat out obviously would not be.
Back at Sam's cage, the two goons are unlocking it to take Bobo to Winger's lab, and just as they open the cage door, Leslie arrives and charges at them, giving Sam an opportunity to rush out
Which
the
is
cage.
tough to do. Like, you know someone cares when they're willing to charge goons.
We then watch a mostly naked Sam, of course, kick and spin kick at the evil goon, who has a cattle prod.
And I'm imagining the actual chimp doing that spin kick.
Yeah, I was too, and it was great.
Well, at one point, I think it's an offhand line, one of the goons says, oh, he knows karate. The other goon gets a snare, and from behind catches Sam, wraps around his neck, and throughout the chaos, they have sounded the alarm. Eventually, Sam gets shot with a tranquilizer dart. He tumbles to the ground, and he's wheeled off out of the lab.
They really want to kill these chimps so badly. Like, I almost thought they might shoot Leslie.
Later, we see Al frantically screaming for Sam to wake up, as Sam himself is strapped into a seat. He's got a flight helmet on and a big tube in his mouth. Next to his head is a big metal cylinder, and it's pretty clear they're about to bonk him real good. Do this test for
Really
Dr.
lays
Winger.
bare how dumb this test is. Also, this takes way too long.
Like they do a whole countdown and everything.
Yeah,
It's
and it
like
has to span before and after the commercial break.
It's like the laser scene for James Bond. You know how they have to warm it up for like 5 minutes before it actually gets him?
God, I
And then
wish
leave the room.
Donald Pleasance had been there chewing the scenery while this was going on.
You've ruined an exciting ape.
I won't kill you myself, but I'll leave these sharks to do it.
Dr. Winger's at the control panel for the experiment, and he's going over data like heart rate, blood pressure, stuff we've heard a bunch. Al continues to scream at Sam to try and wake him up, but no avail. We also see Corey is here. She's watching the whole thing from a nearby cage, perturbed. You can tell she's upset.
And she has a crush on this potentially dead chimp.
Well, finally, Sam begins to groggily wake up. Winger says that they will be testing a 5,000-pound impact force on the helmet. Conveniently for us as viewers, though, they've set up a gauge that shows what the pressure is built up to.
It just sounds cartoonish, too.
It
Like,
does.
this will definitely knock his head completely off.
He also announces the number as it climbs higher. 1,000, 2,000.
Oh, we can see it.
Sam begins to paw at the lock on his chest, and we get up to 4,000 pounds of pressure. Al keeps yelling. Sam keeps pawing. Winger keeps reading the pressure. The gauge hits right at 5,000 pounds, and just as Winger pushes the button, Sam disengages the lock to his suit and crumples to the floor, narrowly missing the cylinder, which blasts towards the spot where his ape head was. Al is overjoyed, and Winger and the other scientists quickly walk out to go after Bobo, but they show apprehension because this is an ape, after all. Al points out that one of the guards left his tranquilizer gun on the table next to him, so Sam quickly lunges and grabs it before the workers can grab him. So, while we are watching a groggy, be-diapered Scott Dracula wave about a gun, you have to remember the scientists are all there watching a chimp grab a gun and point at them, which rightfully frightens everyone.
Both of these things are weird.
They are scary, too, in different ways. All the scientists back up as Sam begins to escape, but before he gets out of the room, he stops. Al asks, "What are you doing?" And Sam says, "I can't leave her here." So he goes back, opens the cage door, and grabs his girlfriend, Corey, by her little ape hand, leads her out of the room and into the
Very
stairwell.
cute.
It's a great scene of Scott Bakula as he's holding a chimp's hand and guiding it out of the room, pointing a gun at bad guys.
Mhm.
That's like the highlight of his career.
The rest of the episode, they're running around hand in hand, too, and like
Beautiful.
they're sharing dialogue, essentially. Yeah, it really is beautiful.
And honestly, Scott Bakula is so at peace with it all. He looks very comfortable
Mhm.
doing that.
I like to think he married Corey after this.
Ape Man and Ape covertly make their escape, all with Al's help as the hologram man gives them directions and where to go. And by the way, the first thing that Corey did once she got out of the cage is rip off that diaper. So now she's free to just piss and shit wherever she wants.
Oh, yeah.
Just like God intended
Imagine how good the wind feels.
on her ape vagina.
Yeah.
And ape butthole. Let's not forget the ape butthole.
Let's not forget the ape butthole.
Bootu boys.
That took me like 5 seconds to even register.
That's another thing on your AI note. That's never like a
Yeah.
butthole. These are going to be some great bullet points.
We need a t-shirt that has that, and it's Corey there smiling.
Maybe in the front, you know,
Well.
we got to put in the back.
Scott Blackula. Wait, Blackula?
Yeah, it's a
Oops.
blaxploitation movie starring Scott Bakula.
I guess.
Doesn't seem like a good idea.
The entire base has now been alerted about the chimpanzees.
Oh,
I like
okay,
that.
Yeah.
That's way better than chimpanaut, which is what Al comes up with.
Leslie is busy chastising her boss, Dr. Tucker, asking him, how could you have approved any of this in the first place?
He's like, oh, I just felt like it. Like, I'm the authority around here.
Pretty much. I mean, he tells her you can't get too attached to these animals, and instead you just have to think about how important the animal research is. And there's more of that exact same argument.
The
that they
same
just
argument.
had.
He says, who's to decide which of you is right? And I have the answer. She is.
And him even.
That's what's so annoying about Dr. Tucker is like, I mean, he had the ultimate decision on all this and just was like, yeah, I think Winger's doing a perfectly good thing here. Let's let him do it.
Tucker.
He should have known better.
Winger. Hardly know her. It's a sex thing.
Right.
Al would appreciate that.
Al would
Oh,
be
yeah,
very
that's an
into
Al
that.
joke. Mm-hmm.
You know what his cigar did when he said that? Whoop.
But anyway, blah, blah, blah. They continue arguing. Corey and Sam have made their way outside and they scamper past a Jeep. But I also, as they were doing this, really hoped they were going to steal the Jeep. And then we might have gotten to see a chimp drive a car.
I also really thought that's where we were going.
Didn't happen. Instead, they run right past it. and then they hide behind some conveniently placed barrels and boxes like
I
they're
would-
fucking Solid Snake.
Would never do that because I was thinking the whole time this is going to be like Goldeneye. If someone shoots that stuff, it's going to blow up.
It'll explode, yeah.
Because there's something explosive in every barrel or crate.
And chairs. The chairs explode
the
in a
chairs do,
fireball.
and tables.
Boris probably did.
Well, that makes sense. I don't know what he eats.
Click, click, click with the pin.
Second time we've talked about Alan coming.
Al tells the two to stay put behind the barrels and boxes and says, I'll try and find a way out. So this leaves Sam and Corey by themselves, and they're clutching each other very tightly. Now, noticing that Corey seems to be a little worried, Sam decides to try and comfort his ape girlfriend.
Hey, you scared? Well, I am. Listen, you shouldn't have to do this, you know? You and me out here running around like this is pretty crazy. But don't you worry. Al's gonna find us a way out, okay?
And yes, that was an ape smooch there at the end.
On the mouth.
Oh, yeah, full bore. I would have done it.
Sure.
Come on, you're sitting there, you're holding this cute ape. You're going to kiss the
Yeah,
ape.
she's making those little ape noises.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have kissed her on the head. I don't know if I
Yeah.
would have kissed her mouth.
Oh, I would have opened her mouth and stuck my right in there.
Bacula went right for it.
He did. He's confident in his bacula sexuality.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what species, they're attracted to bacula.
Hominid, that's all you need. Is that right?
Sounded good.
I think
Sure.
it's...
I'm not a
whatever.
scientist.
I would say phylum.
Really, you talk all about your credentials. That's all you talk about.
Well, I'm only a neurologist.
Oh, okay. Al returns and reveals that there's a nearby lake, quote unquote, and all they have to do is cross it, climb a fence, and then they're free. And by free, I mean out into the Florida wilderness, I guess.
And they won't survive.
Sam points out the flaw in this plan. Apes can't swim.
Oh no.
But this is
did
no
come
way.
back.
How will they cross the lake? But Al goes, no, don't worry. There's a pipe there. There's a big pipe. I'm like, oh, okay,
Good thing
that'll
they
do.
put that in.
The two make their way to the pipe, and Sam sets Corey down onto it, with the young ape quickly making her way down the pipe towards Al, who's cheering them both on. Sam's right on her heels, which I guess that expression still works. Chimps have heels?
Sure.
I don't know. Their feet are like, they can grab things.
Yeah.
Kind of bound
But
a
it's a
little
heel.
bit, but it seems like a heel.
Well, she does a lot better climbing in that pipe than Scott Bakula does.
She goes right down.
No big deal for her.
Unfortunately, right on both of their heels is Dr. Winger, who has commandeered that Jeep from earlier and is now rushing after them on the pipe as well.
He by himself, the doctor. How
What's he
important
doing?
is this?
Well, yeah, just let him go. Who cares?
Yeah.
The only problem is Winger is no ape, nor ape-man hybrid. So his agility is much lower, and he stumbles, falling off the pipe and into the nasty, nasty Florida water below. Corey and Sam have made it to the fence, and Al is urging them to climb over the fence and then get over the barbed wire somehow.
That's going to be tough. And he does kind of belatedly say, look, well, I don't know how you'll do that.
But Sam sees that Dr. Winger is apparently more chimp than he admits, because he too can't swim.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't he just stand up?
Yeah, it was about 3 feet of water.
But that was the thing. They say this is a lake, but this is clearly like a pond or just
Yeah.
a ditch full
It
of
actually
water.
looked gross.
It was nasty.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was just, I don't know, like swamp water is so
Yeah,
thick,
like
like quicksand.
Gooey.
It was just sucking him up
chimp
in there.
runoff water.
Yeah, maybe his sludge, he couldn't move.
Could be, because our hero begrudgingly says, I can't just let Winger die. So he sets down
I'd
Corey.
let him die.
Oh, I would too. He rushes off to dive into the water to save the flailing doctor. And it's a good, like, swan dive into the water.
Yeah, Bacula knows.
As Sam clutches the coughing Winger and swims him back to shore, Leslie has since arrived and is rushing to greet them. Finally safe, a wheezing Winger says to her, I thought you said they can't swim. And she says they can't. I just don't know how Bobo did it.
I, too, though, don't know how Bobo did it because it's still, as we've already established, Bobo's body with Bobo's physical properties.
Yeah, I guess he can transcend that when it's swimming.
The spirit
Yes.
of Bacula
Scott Bakula can do that.
Mhm.
Okay, never mind. I've been talked into it. This is just like the NCAA scoring record thing. I've come around.
I think he wanted to all along in both of those.
I did.
Well, Sam, as Bobo, he locks eyes with Dr. Winger, and then a soft flute melody plays, and the camera gets right up on both of their wet faces and just stares at them for a few moments.
What's this signify? This happens a few times.
It's as if two are one, Brian.
Like a mind meld.
They are together now. So Leslie says to Winger, now do you understand? And Winger, he does. He gets
says
it.
yes.
He is no longer enemy to the chimps, but instead has become Ape's greatest ally. By now, the two goons have arrived, and the evil one has a tranquilizer gun and is pointing it at Sam, who's like wheezing in the water. But Dr. Winger's newfound understanding of man's closest brother has encouraged the doctor to climb to his feet and stop the goon. Winger tells him to put the gun down, and the goon says, "No, Sam is dangerous. Get out of the way." But Winger has the last words, and he says, "No, you're dangerous." And then he snatches the tranquilizer out of his hand, throws it to the ground. Now the goon says, "You're making a big mistake." Winger goes, "No, I'm not. I'm correcting one."
Oh, shit.
A lot of burns for
He's
Winger
leaving
here.
the janitor henchman guy as the main villain by himself now.
He is. Yeah.
Now, I wish that Winger would also say, also, my scientific approach was a little wrong-headed before. I see that now.
Leslie thanks Winger just as Corey has returned to the beach and notices the gun that Winger just tossed to the ground. Sam begins to protest, but Al tells him, no, don't say anything. And Sam says, well, they wouldn't understand me anyway, I'm an ape. But showing a degree of intelligence that is only surpassed by her lust for revenge, Corey picks up the gun and fires it directly into the evil goon's ass, just chimp honking the entire time. It's wonderful. I loved it every second of it.
We deserve this. After
Yeah.
the sad part of the episode, this is the triumph we need.
No one's upset,
No, they seem pretty happy, actually.
but Leslie does take the gun from Corey and picks her up, and they all sit next to Sam and Al on the pipe. Sam asks to Al what happens now that I've, likely completed this whole leap, and Al updates us on the characters and their futures. Turns out Winger, he stops his chimp testing, but yet he still develops his flight helmet, which saves a lot of human lives.
See, there was always another way.
Mm-hmm. Leslie starts her own vet practice in Santa Fe, also building a sanctuary for orphaned chimps. But that's not all. It also turns out that Corey and Bobo, they have a little chimp baby of their own.
Ooh. Do you think?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
What happens to me? Oh, you're Bobo now.
Yeah, Chimp 69, Spencer.
You're the one that makes the baby. Not my kid, just like the last episode.
Sam does laugh and say, thank goodness I don't have to be around for that.
Yeah.
The ape sex.
I don't buy it.
He turns and looks at Corey, and they both lock eyes, and then they lock lips. And just as they do, a flash of blue and white rushes over Sam, as it's clear he's completed his task. He has saved Bobo. He has saved Corey. But once again, Quantum Leap does that thing I love. It knows how to keep you coming back for more. And we see a preview of next week's episode as Sam leaps into the body of a guy in a big trench coat, standing in a doorway with a gun. He looks around, trying to get his bearings, and he begins to slowly walk through a darkened house. He hears a bonk further in, so he continues, climbing up the staircase and looking through the doors and windows. He comes across a huge pool of blood on the carpet, but just then a voice rings out behind him saying, "Jack!" This causes him to slip and roll on the blood, which I didn't care for at all. He get dirty and don't like that. But anyway, he looks back and sees a woman holding a gun, and she says, "It's me, Roselli, Olive Garden." And she tells him to go check it out.
I'm a tough cop, probably.
Probably. So he walks over to a door, opens the door with his gun in his side, looks down at the ground, only to see a bloody, violently damaged body of a blonde woman. What's he say?
Oh,
boy.
Well, I'm coming back next week.
Show's over. Quantum Leap is done.
Quantum Leap.
So I'll ask again, and you can be more explicit with it. Which was your favorite of the two episodes?
Well, I don't.
Is it still the same?
Yes, this one was it went in places I didn't expect, where I was actually getting emotional and angry, and actually cared about how it ended, and was pleased that the apes had a good ending. I wasn't as invested in what's their name?
Glitter Rock.
Maroon
King Thunder?
5.
This one I did enjoy, especially for the chimp triumph moments. I'm just such a sucker for fake rock worlds. I can't get enough of that stuff. So that was just so much fun for me to watch. But I have to say, the moment at the end where Corey shoots that awful guy with the tranquilizer gun by itself is just, it's so great.
That's like a top 10 Bootu Boys moment, I think.
Certainly. I think whenever you watch a movie and a movie is done well and it gets you invested in the characters and the plot, and bad things happen, bad things. And then finally, when you get that moment of triumph, if it's a good movie, a good show, you feel it inside. And you know what? I felt it inside when Corey shot that goon in the ass with a tranquilizer dart. Now, I do have the deciding vote, because this is a contest, of which episode is better, and I'm not choosing either one. I want it to be ambiguous because I like them both. So fuck you guys.
Yeah, we quantum leapt. This was a fun show to do.
It was a fun show to do. Can you see yourself watching any more of this?
I mean, I'm pretty curious about that next one.
I feel like this is one of those things that, like, if you guys ever wanted to, I'm like, yeah, let's put one of those things on.
Let's watch one.
And there's probably a Christmas one or something.
Oh, see, we can do that.
That would
yeah.
be amazing.
He's in Santa.
I was just getting ready to say that.
Has
Oh.
to be a Santa in the Bacula era between 1961 and 90. Obviously,
Whatever, maybe.
He's still going strong.
His big Frankenstein head.
But yeah, I think that I know that they've remade this show.
Yeah, there's a reboot. It's still going.
It's too bad they didn't just do it with Bacula again.
They should, because he's still acting
Yeah.
and looks fine. So I don't know.
You can leap as an older man.
Well, okay, so the finale of the original run of Quantum Leap, there's no finality to it.
Oh, he doesn't get home?
No, he doesn't get home.
That's terrible.
So Donald Belisario and all the people on it, they have this idea that Sam's still out there jumping, and he's doing it because he chose to do it. Like maybe he could have found a way to go home,
For
but
the love of the game.
for the love of the game, to help chimps, to help glam rock people,
I think
he's
it's
still doing
possible he just found one that he couldn't solve and he died.
it. No, it is possible.
I think he went back to go be Bobo forever.
Or possibly Tonic. Maybe
Yeah,
one of
sure.
the two we saw.
I see the appeal in both cases.
Yeah, fun show. I enjoyed doing this. Do you have any questions or anything else from here?
I guess what I would
Leap?
just like to add is we've covered a lot of these sort of silly concept shows from the era, and this one's spirit felt nice.
Yeah.
Like,
It was fun.
I think it had a good heart.
A lot of them don't seem fun, but this one was.
I will say this. We touched on it in the first episode. I really think that Scott Bakula was the right guy for this role.
Yeah.
I will say, I didn't know much about Scott Bakula.
Same
For
with
the
Dean
name.
Stockwell. I
Yeah.
think they paired up really well for what they were going for.
They did a good job. It's stupid, but in some good ways, in a charming way. Charming,
Well,
stupid.
When they were doing the auditions for the role, Donald Belisario, the creator, was sitting in a room. Bakula was the first one to come in and read for it. And he tells the story and he says, like, I kept a stone face. I didn't want to say anything because then we could negotiate him for a lower contract. But Bakula leaves and he turned to whoever else was with him and said, that's Sam. We have to have that guy. And then somebody else approached him and said, hey, do you want Dean Stockwell? And he was like, oh, shit, of course. Married to the Mob had just come out, which is a huge movie at the time. Dean Stockwell was a big star, and he just decided he wanted to do it. And I also saw an interview with Dean Stockwell who said, well, my buddy at the time, Dennis Hopper, told me that if I went and did TV, my career would be over. It wasn't.
I'm pretty sure Dennis Hopper's still in cocaine exile at this point, where he had made everyone so mad
Oh, yeah.
he wasn't allowed to do anything. And I mean, you could do almost anything and not get to that point in Hollywood at the time, but he did it.
Oh, yeah. He was nuts. I love Dennis Hopper. He was Bowser in the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah, somehow. And but that was the start of one of his periods of like, we're going to let him do stuff again.
Before we reveal what show's coming up next, I just want to say go to bootuinc.com. That's our website. You can see stuff. We have pages for every episode of the show that comes out. It's funny. We write them. There are pictures. It's like a pop-up book. It's delightful.
Our creepypastas we've written.
They're on there.
It's a lot of stuff. It's a good site.
Tons of stuff. And then check out Bootu Inc. on YouTube. All of our videos and shit's up there. We've got patreon.com/Bootu Inc. bonus shows available there. You know it. You know the deal. It's all available.
Yeah.
Look it up. And then also Goodreads. We've got Loud Guitar Brian. We've got Golden Hat Mick over here.
See what we're reading. Talk to us about it.
Read about bone collectors.
Yeah.
Read about
Bone rattlers.
I already forgot
Movies.
what you did. Movies. Anyway, good stuff. So
Give us 5 stars on iTunes,
that's right.
and we'll get a tattoo of Corey.
Whatever. Corey,
For sure we will.
a chimp.
I kind of want one anyway, even if you don't want to give us a 5-star
Of Corey
review.
with of tranquilizing that guy.
Or maybe just kissing Scott Bakula.
Yeah, oh, man, that sounds awesome.
I'd get a tattoo of me rocking the redhead.
Okay.
Sure. I'll get a tattoo of Bakula in a diaper.
Beautiful. Well, let's toss it over to Brian. I believe you're going to reveal our next show, and you have something else
Well,
for us?
first off, we've been talking about sandwiches on this podcast recently because I was talking about hot sandwiches, and that led to a discussion of what sandwiches we might find attractive. And we talked about kinds of sandwiches briefly that we like. I want to get more granular about sandwich shit. I want to talk about what we're going to eat on these things. So I want to introduce a new segment. It's called Sandwich Ones.
Sandwich ones, are you gonna choose the very best toppings that you can't refuse? Sandwich ones, are you gonna select with which condiments will your tongue connect? Mustard and ketchup and pickles and ranch. When it comes to sandwiches, there's a rise in my pants. PB&J, I'll eat that shit all day. BLT, that's for me. Oh no, I'm hungry. Sandwich ones, are you gonna choose the very best toppings that you can't refuse? Sandwich ones, are you gonna select with which condiments will your tongue connect?
All right, this is Sandwich Ones, and inspired by our recent discussions, we'll start with you, Van, first. Just in general, what are the sorts of things you're putting on a sandwich?
Is this a sandwich I'm making at home or a sandwich
Yeah.
I'm going to a store to buy?
Sandwich you're making at home, assuming you've got a wider range of options.
Sure. Typically, my go-to is I'm going to have some sort of protein, some sort of meat, be that a honey ham, a roast beef, a turkey. There's some good roast chicken that's sliced too. I like that
How
stuff.
about your favorite meat, shrimp? You putting that in a sandwich?
All over my sandwiches. And I don't know about that. Make maybe a po' boy with some shrimp on it. No,
That
no.
could
Sounds
work.
good.
So I got my bread. And by the way,
Leatherhead might make one of those.
Well, of course he'd make one. He would and then devour it with
picturing
his
like
big
a-
crocodile mouth.
A bad, just normal sandwich bread and the shrimp just soaking through the bread.
Oh, it's like damp and sticky.
It's been sitting out.
Oh,
It's
gross.
disgusting. And like the shrimp was frozen and now it's thawed.
I feel like this is going to end and be like, I don't like sandwiches.
Sandwiches are worse.
No, I'm anti-sandwich. Take it back.
But no, I like me a good solid like hearty bread, like a wheat something,
Oh, yeah.
multi-grain bread.
Now you're
something
talking.
that can hold what I'm going to put on it. A couple pieces of meat. I need some cheese on there.
Did somebody say cheese? The next show that we'll be covering is Family Matters, which was an ABC and CBS sitcom that ran from 1989 to 1998.
Okay, this is pretty good.
It stars America's dad, Reginald Vell Johnson, RVJ. We've covered him
Return.
in Bones before.
Mhm.
And it has Steve Urkel in it.
What would have happened if cheese never happened? It never came up.
He knew.
This is a real leap of faith.
So was this whole thing an elaborate ploy to introduce your show?
It
You don't even
absolutely
want me
was.
to talk
That's a
about
good one.
sandwiches anymore?
No, this is how I spent my afternoon.
No, that's a good one. It's been a while since we've done a twist.
Yeah,
This was a Shyamalanian twist ending.
that's right.
But there's another twist on top of the twist, which is we've always wanted to cover Family Matters,
have,
I would
yes.
assume. I didn't even know how to narrow it down. I've probably seen every episode of this, and
Sure.
I kept marking down ones I wanted to do. So
So we're going to do 10 Family Matters episodes.
I picked 4, and I want us to all decide what 2 we're going to cover.
Okay,
Just
you've done
through-
something
through-
similar to this.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
done a little bit like this.
First off, we have Season 3, Episode 9, Born to be Mild. A violent street gang called the Dragons invades Rachel's place, so Carl and Steve hatch a plan to stop them that involves Steve posing as a gang member.
Okay.
Wow, these are not the ones that might be fake. Like these are
These
all
are
real.
all real. Season 4, Episode 21, Walk on the Wild Side. Laura is sick of being called a goody two-shoes by her friends, so she agrees to accompany them to a club. Club Buff, an all-male nude strip club.
Oh.
She gets more than she bargained for, though, when she shows up and finds her mom, her aunt, and Grandma Winslow already at the club taking in the eye candy.
Hell yes,
and then
Grandma
Steve
Winslow.
goes up on stage and strips.
Oh, okay.
So that's the kind of
Wait.
stuff.
Is that where
Steve?
he's sexy?
Or Stefan.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's Steve. You don't, if it was Stefan, you would. Okay. Season 5, Episode 7, Grandmama. Okay. So Steve and Eddie enter a basketball tournament, but when Eddie ditches Steve for a better partner, Steve finds salvation in the form of a certain 6'7" elderly woman, Grandmama, who's really Larry Johnson of the Charlotte Hornets,
Oh yeah.
who was quite popular in the 1990s.
And that was his nickname.
Grandma Ma.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one involves Urkel and Eddie playing basketball with NBA players in costumes.
Why was his nickname Grandma
I don't
Ma?
know.
I think he might have been in a commercial
He definitely
where
was.
that was the joke, is like, look how huge this grandma is.
Oh, okay.
And I guess it maybe carried over to this show, or
I-
it started in the show.
Maybe?
Well,
like
no.
a double guest star?
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
That's weird.
And then this last one is just to see if we want to do this, which is to do a more serious one, because Family Matters did do this every now and then. Season 5, Episode 15, Good Cop, Bad Cop. Urkel takes Richie, which is Rachel's kid, to the dentist. Eddie gets pulled over at a routine traffic stop turns into an ugly racial profiling incident.
I totally remember this one.
Carl, who is a cop, struggles to believe his son, but then begins to investigate what really happened. So that's an issue that's still prevalent today.
Yeah, and I mean, this is obviously a very important show in the regards that it was another black family just living life like people do
Right.
in the early 90s. Of course, we had the Cosby Show, which, was a
But
forerunner
this
of all
was
this.
pretty rare.
But this was extremely rare, and man, I loved this show as a kid. I totally remember that last episode. I don't remember what else happened, but I get those feelings of what I felt back then, and I was moved.
Those Reginald Vell Johnson feelings. So, do you guys have any preliminary thoughts on? Is there one that you guys are like, we have to do this?
I think Spencer's leaning grandmama.
No, I'm
Right?
leaning not doing that because that's
Oh.
my territory. You
Okay,
can't
that's
do any
true.
grandma
Oh, okay,
episode.
I see.
Fair enough. Let's cross it off for that reason.
It's out
Okay.
of there. Get that on the list.
I kind of like the stripper idea.
I kind of do too.
That
It's-
would be a good one.
That's busy too. It's got a lot going on. It
Sure.
seems like
So, all right.
and
we're
the first
pro
one was something
strippers.
about being in a gang.
the street
Yes.
gang. Carl and Steve have to stop a street.
So we do
gang.
that one or the serious one in contrast with the strip club.
Do we need to do a serious episode?
I'm leaning bikers. I'm leaning let's do Goofy.
That's
Well,
fair.
I am too.
I was thinking
I
of
just
it
wanted
in-
the option to be
Yeah,
out there.
I was thinking of it now, Growing Pains, how he did the cocaine one. We got a little serious in that, so I wondered if we would want to try that here. But I'm okay with doing
Okay,
the two.
so
two silly
officially
ones.
we're going to do season 3, episode 9, Born to be Mild, and season 4, episode 21, Walk on the Wild Side, the premieres of Family Matters. I'm excited to do this.
Yeah, this
to
would be fun.
revisit it.
Also, like a little mustard, not a lot. Maybe some
Okay,
mayonnaise
anything-
on
okay.
top. But I really like spinach and lettuce. You can get a couple of those on there.
Spencer, what about you? We haven't gotten to you yet.
Oh, I already stopped thinking about it since we weren't going to do it. And then I just immediately discarded all thoughts of sandwiches and can't bring it back up.
No, do it differently. You're going to Quiznos. What are you ordering?
From Quiznos?
Sure.
Well, I got to get that honey bacon turkey thing or whatever, but that's the only
Sounds
place
good.
I would do that. Normally, when you just said when you go to a place, I immediately was like, I want a meatball sub. But I wouldn't make that at the house though, because, well, I might.
I don't know. That's a lot
I
of
don't,
work.
it is.
Yeah, do you kill the meatball that
I
day?
just want to, when it's at the house, I'm like, here's some turkey and some cheese. Are you going to do it again?
It's a rush operation.
Anybody want some cheese?
Second time there. No, it's nothing fancy when I do it at the house, but I like the idea of what you can do when you go to a place where it's like they make the sandwich for me, because then meatball subs can happen.
You hold all the power.
Or
But
Reuben's.
if you make it at
Mm.
home, you can stand back and admire it, and you can say, did I do that?
And you can cut it diagonally.
It could
Yeah,
have
you can.
short-circuited it when I was talking Van into having a soggy shrimp sandwich. He might have been like, I don't want to do this,
You
and then there
guys,
would have been no cheese
I was
reference.
on the highest of alerts for the cheese word to be said.
Oh, I'm sure.
I was just waiting. I was like, I can't believe Van has talked
It
this
took
long
him a
and not
while.
said cheese, which I was actually grateful for that it didn't happen immediately.
Yeah, if he would have been like, I really like a good grilled cheese, you would have stopped
Which
him right there.
Would have also been pretty cool.
I had one the other day. It was really good. All right, let's mix it up then, and then we'll get out of here. Brian, what sandwich shop needs to die? Don't say Subway. That's too easy.
Oh, okay, because that is what I was gonna say. But
Like, which one would you never get unless you're forced to?
Well, there's so many of them that we could kill a bunch.
Sure.
Like, there's too many choices.
why can't I think of one?
Is Blimpie still around?
Oh, I don't think so.
Well, I was going to say that, but apparently it already happened.
I
then.
think that's long gone, but I haven't thought about Blimpie in forever. Maybe that's just not here. There's Schlotsky's. There's
Well, let's not kill Schlotsky's.
Uncle Lenny's. What's that called? Lenny's
Uncle-
Sub Shop.
Well, there's also
There's
Mr.
Jersey
Goodsense, right?
Mike's.
Yeah, Good
There's
Sense.
Mr. Good Sense.
It's just Good Sense, guys. They got
Oh.
rid of the evil penny mascot.
I'm going to answer for you, and then you can give one too. Quiznos doesn't need to be here anymore because now you can get toasted bread anywhere. So that's not
Okay.
special anymore. We
That's
can kill
fine.
Quiznos. At the time, it was like, holy shit, I get
and
a
you don't
toasted
want to fuck
sandwich.
with Jersey Mike.
No, and it's good too. How about Firehouse? Do we need Firehouse? Billy Butler doesn't really need it.
Do we want to be messing with him?
I don't know if
Yeah.
I've ever had Firehouse.
It's nothing special.
Let's burn Firehouse down then.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's a plague
Yeah.
of the fire.
Okay. That seems appropriate.
We're actually starting to kind of really make some progress here and cutting down the options in the sub business.
We could be whatever those consultants where businesses pay thousands upon thousands of dollars to bring someone in who goes, I think you should just fire a bunch of people. And they go, oh my God, you save our business
That's
so much money.
perfect.
What a good idea.